Tiffany, and today I am doing another book review, which is why my hair is in this absolutely ridiculous fashion, because the main character kind of has pigtails, but I didn't feel like braiding it, so I did it like this. So you're gonna have to deal with me looking like this throughout the whole entire thing. I'm sorry, but I wanted to do it. It's kind of fun. Anyways, thank you for joining me today. Like I said, I'm doing another book review. And this one is kind of different. It is a classic. It's been on my shelf for I don't know how long now, ridiculous amount of time. That's not okay. Like, it's been on my shelf for years without me even touching it. And I didn't even know it was there again until we moved, and then I had to reorganize my bookshelves, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have this book? What? Wait, what? Read it now. This book that I am talking about is Anne of Green Gables. Yeah, it's like a childhood classic, basically. It's definitely for younger readers, I feel like, but I think anybody can enjoy it, because I enjoyed it. She's the little girl on the cover, and she has, like, pigtails and red hair. So I don't have the red hair, and again, I didn't feel like braiding, so improvising with what I got. Ta-da! I also kind of wore green. It's, like, striped, but I wore green because this book is green, and it's called Green Gables. Green seems to really fit the theme of this book, so I tried to be in theme. And overall, I really did enjoy it. I will admit this was a little bit of a harder one for me to get through, and it's not because it wasn't good. I think I mentioned this before, when it comes to these type of books, it kind of is a contemporary. If it was like written in modern day, I think it'd be kind of a contemporary, but it's a classic instead, since it was written way back when. It kind of felt like one a little bit to me, or like a coming of age story really, where not a lot of giant stuff happens, but it's still a very motivating book. And for me, who loves fantasy and dystopia and all of that, when there's not a lot of action and big giant twists happening and everything, it can be very hard for me to get through, even though the book is really good. It's like when I'm reading it, I love it, and I can go for a couple of hours, but once I put it down, it takes me a little while to actually go and pick it back up and finish it. I really enjoyed it. Writing was very simple, which was nice. Classics, you never know. Sometimes it can be really complicated writing. The chapters weren't super duper long. One thing that I liked about the chapters is that, like, the title of it really played into what the chapter was about. The first one is Mrs. Rachel Lynde is Surprised. And you'll find out why she's surprised and stuff like that. So it plays really into that specific chapter, and I really liked that, because you're trying to figure out why is this chapter labeled that. For those of you who want statistics, it has a 4.22 on Goodreads. I gave it 4 stars, so I'm agreeing pretty much with everybody who's ranked it. And the basic plot of it is this couple named Marilla and Matthew Cuthbert decide that they are going to adopt a child. They actually want to get a boy, but their friend messes up and actually gets them a girl named Anne. So Anne ends up going to Green Gables, and instead of sending her back or trying to fix it, they decide to keep her and raise her as their daughter. It's basically about Anne's adventures in this town and her growing up and experiencing life. It's a very motivating book. It definitely plays into the childish wonderment that we have. Everything is so amazing and spectacular, and everything you do is so exciting, whether it be going to school or going to a picnic or anything. It's all super exciting, and you have all these high emotions. And then it goes through that growing up period of when that kind of goes away a little bit. And it just shows a really good transition from childhood sort of into adulthood, teenage years, and it's just a really good story. And I really liked it, and I wasn't sure what to expect from it. It is a happy book. There's like maybe 1 or 2 super sad moments in there. Nothing that made me cry necessarily. I'd say if you want like a calm read that's just gonna make you feel good in a way, I'd say Anne of Green Gables is one of those books. It is kind of long probably. It's how many pages? 400 something pages, but it's very easy to read. Go check it out. I highly recommend it. Main characters that you do need to know are Anne, Matthew, Marilla Cuthbert. You also have Diana and Gilbert Blythe. Those are your other 2 really main characters, but Anne's your central figure. It's called Anne of Green Gables, so of course she's the star of the book. I mean, that'd be weird if it was called Anne, but then Diana was the star. It'd be like, why isn't it Diana of Green Gables then? That wouldn't work. That's really all I can tell you right now without spoiling you. So go read Anne of Green Gables, and hopefully you like it and really enjoy it like I did. And then you can come back and we can discuss all the talky-feely things. Have an awesome, fabulous day, non-spoilery people, and I'll see you when you read the book. All right. Goodbye! You get to avoid my awful hairdo. Alright, so this book, I wasn't really sure what to expect with it. I didn't really know what it was about or anything like that. So the plot of it at the very beginning was very interesting. There wasn't anything in there that was super like unpredictable in a sense. Like, I still kind of saw everything coming, but that wasn't necessarily the point. It wasn't about big twists or turns that are supposed to catch you off guard. I really am happy that I went into this without really knowing anything about this. I don't know how I would have liked it if I actually knew the whole plot of it before I went in. I don't think I would have liked it as much. So trying to figure out what the whole plot was very interesting. Anne's character, she was just awesome. She was very talkative, of course, so that was a little bit intimidating. I don't know about you, but when I'm reading books and I see this giant paragraph, I'm like, oh gosh, I need to prepare myself mentally to get through this. That was kind of like, in some points, but I am happy that it was mainly used for dialogue. When it's giant paragraphs describing something, then I get more annoyed, but if it's dialogue, it's easier for me to get through because I can imagine someone actually saying it. I mean, I wasn't in the book, but I was wanting to tell Anne to just stop talking for 2 seconds. 2 seconds, that is all I ask, so I can have a breather. But her character was super fun, and it reminded me of childhood, because you remember when you were that young, everything was just so exciting and full of life and amazingness. Like, everything she made was an adventure, a story. And I just remember doing that as a kid, like creating all these fantastic stories with all my friends. It was like nostalgia for me. So then we have also Marilla and Matthew Cuthbert. I wasn't sure about how I felt at Marilla at the beginning. There was never a point where I was like, she's annoying. I just was kind of indifferent to her for a while. As her character transformed, she became definitely one of my favorites. I mean, Anne, of course, has the most character development and change, but I think next to that is Marilla, because she comes from this very like strict, conservative nature and opens up more, especially with Anne and when she's growing up and everything. And you see how far Marilla has come from where she was when she first got Anne. It was just really interesting watching her character development from this very conservative woman to admitting how much she loved Anne and growing as a person. And I thought that was really cool that Anne and Marilla both helped each other in that way. Because you know Anne has a really great connection with Matthew, who Matthew's just the sweetest person on the planet. It was more interesting for me to see the development between Anne and Marilla versus Matthew and Anne. You meet Diana, who is Anne's best friend. Throughout this book, I had these moments of like waiting for it to turn really dark. Have you ever had that? It'd be going really, really great for her, so I was waiting for the twist where like something really bad happens to her, and nothing really does. Yeah, she gets in trouble, but it's not to the point of like devastation. She was first going to meet Diana. I literally thought that Diana was going to be like a horrible person and they weren't going to be friends and she was going to be devastated. Like, thoughts were going in that direction for some reason, and then they became really good friends, and I was like, oh, okay, never mind, it's happy. I really liked Diana too. I felt like she was a good character. She was in most of it, but I think she could have had a little bit more character development to her, but she was really awesome. She was one of those characters though that I felt like something was going to happen to her and Anne, even though nothing did. I felt like there was foreshadowing that never foreshadowed anything. There's this moment where they're in the book club. Anne is talking about how she wrote the story about 2 friends who were really close to each other. One of the friends liked this guy, but the guy liked her other best friend instead of actually her. The 2 best friends didn't talk to each other because of the guy. You have Gilbert Blythe in the picture with those 2, and I know Anne didn't like Gilbert Blythe, but Diana thought he was cute, and you could kind of sense that Anne was probably eventually going to go to Gilbert Blythe, but I was thinking that that was foreshadowing that maybe Anne and Gilbert were going to get together, and then Diana would be jealous, and then friendship conflict and sadness. But that didn't happen. My foreshadowing skills just failed on that. Everything I tried to predict in this book, I didn't predict right. I was just thinking, I'm reading too many books right now that just have these really dark moments in there that doesn't work out, and I'm waiting for it to always crumble a little bit. So when it doesn't, I'm like kind of shocked that it didn't, which is really weird. That's what happens when you read fantasy and dystopia. Not everything turns out perfect. You need conflict a little bit. It's interesting when you read a book that's happy and nothing really goes wrong except near the end. But other than that, it's happy. And we do have Gilbert Blythe. I loved Gilbert Blythe. I could just tell those 2 were going to end up together, and I was like, oh, I cannot wait, because Gilbert is adorable and awesome. I love it. Of course, Anne was being stubborn, and I was like, Anne, get over that he called you a carrot or whatever he called you. Get with Gilbert Blythe. I want that romance because I know it's going to happen. And it sort of happened. It happened at the very end of the book. They didn't get together throughout this entire book. I mean, it's not that type of book, but you know, at least them being friends. It takes them to the very end to even admit they are friends, but you know, they're gonna live happily ever after and get married and have a wonderful, awesome, and amazing life. But still, I really, 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 really wanted them to get together. Earlier on in the book, every time I was like, Anne, stop being stubborn. And then there's that moment where Gilbert saves her. He's hanging on for dear life, and Gilbert comes and saves her, and he says, can we please be friends? And she's stubborn and says no, and then Gilbert's like, fine, I won't try being friends with you ever again. And I'm like, wait, Gilbert, come back! Then Anne felt guilty about it, so I was like, well, that was stupid. That wasn't fun after that, because I was just getting annoyed at that point. I was like, can you please stop hating each other and love each other like you're supposed to? I think the main thing that bugged me about this book, if there was anything that bugged me, was the development sometimes of certain situations. You saw all the times that Anne got in trouble, and like her getting Diana drunk, I like died laughing because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is not gonna go well. But you have these moments where Anne experiences something really cool. And you do get like the concert. You do see her reaction to the concert. There's moments where like, you know, she's looking forward to this picnic and she almost doesn't get a chance to go. But then at the very end she does get a chance to go because Marilla decides to lift her punishment because Marilla realized she was in the wrong. What I'm looking forward to is reading that part about the picnic where like she's having such a fun time there. But there were those moments like that where it just kind of skipped over them. Get to the moment where Anne can finally actually go on the picnic. And then it cuts to after the picnic and her being all happy, and I'm like, but I want to be a part of the picnic. Now I can't experience the picnic, and there wasn't another picnic in the book that I could experience, so I missed my chance to have a picnic, and I was very sad. I think the picnic one stands out to me the most, where I really wanted to see what was going to happen at the picnic. But there were just moments like that that were just kind of cut over, and sometimes it worked. Like there were also moments where it didn't work, and I just wanted to know more about what happened. Nothing bad has to happen in there. I want to go have a picnic. Does anybody want to go have a picnic with me? I would totally be down with that. Have you even been on a picnic? Yeah, I've done a picnic. And then we get to the ending of the book. Here's the thing. I kept expecting something bad to happen. It was all too happy, and I love happy books, but there's got to be a little bit of conflict in there. I was kind of waiting for that moment where she has this huge giant conflict. And then it comes at the end with Matthew. And at the very end, he ends up dying. And that was really sad because Matthew was really, really awesome. And I loved his character. He was super sweet. That was done beautifully, I felt like, with that whole build-up. You think Anne's gonna go off to college. She's gonna be amazing and study and it'd be awesome. And instead, you have this beautifully tragic moment where Matthew does die, and it changes the whole course of things. It's like in the middle of her transitioning from being that kid to an adult. And it was super sad, and I didn't want that to happen, but it was beautifully done. Did I like all the choices made? No, but this was written a long time ago. For different standards then. But for me, I was a little upset that Anne was like giving up college and gonna be a teacher instead of going to college and furthering her education. I got that Marilla needed her and that she needed to stay at Green Gables and help and make sure that Green Gables wasn't sold, but I was still like, that's the end. That's the only part that's not motivating. And you're seeing her thrive and you're like, go and go, and then like everything she's worked towards just kind of gets stripped away and you're like, I don't have words for it. I was upset. I was like, no, you're gonna go to college and you're gonna figure out a way to get Green Gables and it's gonna be okay. Just go to college. Go to college. But I know that her and Gilbert Blythe end up becoming friends at the end, and I'm like, thank you, thank you, thank you, finally. I was still upset that she did not go to college. And I know that's a kind of a dumb thing to be upset about in a book, but I was like, no, No, but you get why at the same time, because Marilla in the end does need her a whole lot, and without her, everything would probably go horrible at Green Gables. I completely 100% get that. I want to see her go off to college. We're gonna make a sequel where it's Anne got enough money to go off to college with Gilbert Blythe, and they have adventures. And I just really appreciated how good of a coming-of-age story this is. You have that childhood fantasy, and it doesn't go into like your 20s or anything like that, but it goes into your teen years where that kind of goes away. She mentions at the end how like things she thought were really amazing aren't as amazing anymore now that she's older, but they're still cool. I'm still like the childhood fantasy, like, oh my gosh! There are some realities and stuff that do hit you, and as you get older, that fantasy slowly goes away. It's hard sometimes, but I think one thing that I got from this book is just that, to hold on to that in a way, despite everything that happens to you. You know, having that can get you through life, and it can make life grand and better and make everything an adventure and awesome. I think that mindset makes an impact on the world, and I think it is important to have that and not get cynical. And it's gonna go away somewhat, but holding on to that, that's a part of you, and having that hope and dreams, what motivates people. It's what motivates people. That's really all I have to say about this book. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I really, really, really appreciate it. I'm gonna go undo this hair because oh, this is awful hair right now. Thank you for joining me. If you have any other book or movie suggestions, you can leave them in the comments below and just let me know. I have all of your suggestions, of course, on my little note thing that it's not here, you can't see it, but I do have it on there, so stuff will be coming your way soon. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, evening, night, whatever time you're watching this, and don't forget to be awesome. All right, have an awesome day. Go read Anne of Green Gables. Goodbye.